To the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Monday, October 24th. Over the last 1 to 2 weeks, we've had a significant increase in precipitation, especially over the last 5 days or so, with a strong cold front that moved through the Great Basin, bringing new amounts of rainfall and snowfall to the northern half of the Great Basin and showers down further south. This precipitation was above normal in parts of Idaho into northern Nevada. Over the last 72 hours, the precipitation is shown here on the left. You can see the most significant precipitation over the last 3 days has occurred in Idaho, parts of far western Wyoming, but also down into northern Utah and northern and northeast Nevada, with some shower activity also down over parts of southern Utah. Much lighter precipitation further west into the Sierra. The snow depth is shown on the right. You can see we had several new inches of snowfall in the higher elevations especially, but also down low, moving into much of Idaho and northern Nevada and Utah, with the lowering snow levels and the very cold temperatures that were associated with this cold front. The snowpack is now well above normal for the time of year for much of Idaho into northeast Nevada and Utah, and near normal over western Wyoming. So definitely a significant amount of precipitation that has fallen in the last several days. The satellite loop from this morning shows this strong cold front has now pushed eastward into the Rockies with weak ridging. However, we do have another weaker shortwave moving into the Pacific Northwest, and this will keep unsettled weather across parts of the Great Basin going into the middle of the week. For later today, you can see that moisture moves back into Idaho, so we will continue with showers and cloudy conditions in the north today, along with breezy northwest winds over parts of Idaho into Utah. So good dispersion across Idaho, Wyoming, and much of Utah, and lighter winds with poor dispersion over western areas of the Great Basin. You can see today the transport winds will be strongest as this system moves into Idaho and Wyoming, with gusty winds anywhere in the 30s to near 40 miles per hour as far as transport winds. Also, those northwest winds will affect the central and northern Utah mountains and be fairly breezy down south as well. Mixing heights will remain moderate to high region-wide, with the exception of western areas of the Great Basin, which will be a little bit lower. As we move into Tuesday, still zonal westerly flow with weak systems moving into the Pacific Northwest, keeping unsettled weather, especially over northern areas, and generally poor dispersion across much of Nevada and Utah, with some lighter winds, but still breezy with better dispersion further north. On Tuesday, the gusty winds will continue to affect parts of Wyoming into eastern Idaho and down into the Uintas, with much lighter winds elsewhere, although we will see some breezy winds into parts of the higher elevations of the Sierra. Mixing heights will remain moderate to high. On Wednesday, this latest weak shortwave drops south into the Great Basin, again keeping those cooler temperatures in place along with unsettled weather. However, we will see an increase in winds with an increase in dispersion as well across many areas of the Great Basin. Winds will pick up on Wednesday with northwesterly winds gusting in the 30s to low 40s across much of the northern half to central areas of the Great Basin with high mixing heights. Looking at the forecast clearing index for Utah, we will see high clearing indices today with those breezy winds, and then we will see conditions taper off on Tuesday, however still remain moderate to high over parts of the central mountains and then downwind of the central mountains with those breezy northwest winds. And then on Wednesday with the lighter winds, clearing indices drop statewide. Forecast amounts of precipitation, that unsettled weather will continue to produce new rain and snowfall over the northern half of the Great Basin, with drier conditions in the southern and western areas. As we move into Thursday, we start to see a weak ridge of high pressure, a little bit drier conditions with generally poor dispersion across much of Nevada and Utah. However, by Friday into Saturday, another trough of low pressure will move into the west coast, pushing clouds across Idaho, and then by the weekend, another round of precipitation for the northern half of the region. We'll also see some lighter showers as we move into the weekend over parts of western Nevada into the Sierra, although these will still remain on the light side. As we move into Sunday, this trough swings eastward, so we will see precipitation affect or clouds affect many areas of the Great Basin, with dispersion improving. Temperatures will remain quite cool this week with the trough in place and continuous short waves moving across the region, so highs will only reach the 30s and 40s over much of the northern and eastern half of the Great Basin and remain in the 50s and 60s over western areas. We will see some warmer temperatures Saturday before the next cold front moves in, so a slight uptick in temperatures briefly, but then cooler weather yet again. Precipitation for Thursday through Saturday. Generally, this is our drier part of the week, so we will see a decrease in precipitation later this week, but it will return this weekend. The 8 to 14 day outlook from October 31st through November 6th shows cooler and wetter conditions continuing across the Great Basin, so this will continue to keep fire danger low, giving plenty of opportunity for burning across the region. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back on Wednesday for the latest updates.